everyone, and welcome to the Science Out East podcast from the University of East London. I'm Karl Smith, Head of Research Excellence at UEL, and your host today. So, in today's episode, we will be discussing the issue of work-life balance and how leadership influences this. So, I'm really pleased to tell you all that I'm joined by my very special guest today, Dr. Toyin Adisa. He's an Associate Professor in Organisational Behaviour and Human Resource Management at UEL, and he's based in our Royal Dock School of Business and Law.
Thank you, Karl. I'm very pleased to be here with you.
Well, fantastic to have you here. Can you tell us a bit about your own work-life balance?
I try not to, but I have to, because even though I research in the area of work-life balance, I've written a couple of articles in that area, and I've edited books in that area as well. But at the moment, probably because of the stage that I am in my career, I found the work-life balance a little bit elusive for myself. What do I mean by that? I really don't have work-life balance at the moment because I work an average of 100 hours a week. In order for me to get a couple of things that I'm involved in done, this include research, doing field work, editing books, teaching, and all of that. I'm also the Associate Director for Center of Innovation Management and Enterprise at the UEL here. So all of these actually make my work ethic. And if I'm not putting in that number of hours, it might mean that a lot of things will be left undone.
And it's very sobering to hear that. But it's also reassuring to hear that even the experts on work-life balance also have the challenges. There's a whole other debate about, but if you like your work, maybe it's okay, but that's a whole other debate. So let's dive straight into your questions. So Toyin, I know you've got a really extensive research background. You're involved in many different projects, but what attracted you to doing research on work-life balance, especially in the context of organisational behaviour?
To be honest, I didn't want to in the first place. I was talked into. So I actually wanted to do something around leadership. And I met my then supervisor who was keen to having students researching in the area of work-life balance. And we had some conversation, and he convinced me. And I love the way he talked about work-life balance. He convinced me, and I decided to read about it. So I read about it. At that point, work-life balance research, has been established in the literature, but it's not that many in the literature. So the coverage is not as wide as we have now. So because I'm talking about 8-10 years ago. So, and that's the genesis of it. And I started reading about it. I wrote a proposal and I was in for it. And it was quite interesting.
Fantastic. So just to check my understanding there, it was the focus of your PhD. Is that right, Tony?
Yeah. My PhD was in the area of work-life balance and organizational culture in the health sector. Okay. And I did that at the Brunel University in Oxbridge.
Okay. And so I have to ask you, you did a whole PhD in this. What were the most surprising findings from your PhD research?
As I said, it looked at work-life balance of health workers, that is to say, medical doctors and nurses in Nigeria context. It was absolutely ridiculous. I didn't know that I would find myself in their shoes because they were working an average of between 80 and 100 hours. And I was like, how on earth would this be happening? Not knowing that I would find myself in that situation at some point. So it was really, really hectic for them, owing to the fact that they were working with shortage of staff, which is the main problem, and which is absolutely hindering their work-life balance. And of course, the culture of work-life balance is not that prevalent in Nigeria organizations. When you say work-life balance for organizations in Nigeria, then it is your affair. It is your palaver. It is your cup of tea. Whether you want to have work-life balance or not, you decide that, and that didn't come to the workspace. The narrative has since changed. A couple of research that we have done and some other colleagues here and in Nigeria as well. So many organizations are now drafting work-life balance policies and practices into their policies as well. So yeah, it is really, really hectic for medical doctors and nurses in Nigeria then, because they work incredibly hard and an incredible number of hours.
And it's really interesting hearing that. Of course, a shortage of staff will require a lot of work, but I'm also hearing culture, So the culture partly drives it.
That's where the organizational culture thing comes into that. It's not part of the organizational culture in Nigeria at sector then to actually factor in work-life balance of their employees into their policy. They feel that it is employees' problem to achieve or not to achieve work-life balance. So don't bring it to work. Just come to work and do what you have been paid for. And whatever we want to get out of, aside from that, go get out of work. But as I said, a lot of research has been done on the narrative has since changed.
So what I'm hearing here, when you were doing your research at that time in Nigeria, a lot of management didn't really want to take responsibility for work-life issues.
Couple of the fact that in medical doctors and nurses, they have a culture in the organization that we call culture of presenteeism. Culture of presenteeism is, as an academic, you may be doing hybrid work. Sometimes you work from home, sometimes you come to the university, but it is nearly impossible for medical doctors and nurses, specifically in Nigeria. You've got to be there at work all the time. That is what we call the culture of presenteeism, which actually do not align with work-life balance. So the culture of presenteeism is there as part of the organizational culture. They have to be if they have to do 12 hours shift, they have to be there for 12 hours. So, and all of them are required to do extra shifts, even though paid for, but they are required to do extra shift because of the lack of the shortage of staff I alluded to earlier on. So the culture of presenteeism, the culture of that is not our business. It's the culture of long hours is there. And the shortage of staff is there. Then all of these come together, combine together to make work-life balance very difficult for Nigerian doctors and nurses.
Okay, I can really hear that. And I'm hearing actually perhaps potentially some parallels with the UK. And this leads to my next question. So I can hear about the issues that your ordinary workers face and the fact that you may have management who maybe aren't always taking responsibility or setting the wrong kind of culture. So if we want to achieve a more positive work-life balance, how can leadership contribute to that? How can managers help to produce a healthier work-life balance in the workplace?
So the how begins from the management, the manager, the leadership, knowing the benefits of work-life balance, the benefits to the organization, the benefits to the employee, and it has a load of benefits for all of them. And one of them is productivity. Work-life balance actually helps to improve productivity. First of all, I think we should define what work-life balance means. Work-life balance is satisfactory allocation of time and effort to different aspects of our lives. So we have different aspects of our lives. Some of us have academic life, family life, social life, some religion life, some community life, and you want to give all of these lives time and energy. So it is satisfactory distribution of time and energy and your time and energy to all of these lives. So it is not equal distribution because you cannot have equal distribution of time and energy to all of your different aspects of lives, but it is satisfactory distribution. The essence of satisfactory in that definition is that what constitutes satisfactory for you might not constitute satisfactory for another person. So, differ from one individual to another. So when people are able to attend to all of these various aspects of their lives, their motivation shoots up. They become motivated, which then translates to productivity and what we call OCB. OCB stands for Organizational Citizenship Behavior. Their OCB also it rises. And when they are unable to achieve work-life balance, their OCB then drop. Organizational citizenship behavior is a behavior that employee demonstrates to actually help organization to achieve its goal. When they take the organization as their own, they are able to go out of their way to help organization to achieve the organizational goal. And this includes helping others around them, not just themselves, helping others around them, putting in the required hours, putting in the required effort, being innovative, and willing to go extra mile.
So what I'm hearing here, though, Toyin, is that if the managers, if the leaders, if they're introduced to the organizational citizenship behavior concept and they buy into that, that could really positively influence their leadership styles so that the people they manage then have better work-life balance. But do also managers have a role to play in terms of role modeling? If you see your boss leave at 5 o'clock rather than 10 o'clock, and if you see your boss sending an email at 4 in the afternoon, not 2 at night, do you think that to have a big effect on the people they manage?
Of course, yes. I think it depends on the kind of a leadership. Let's say leadership. Let's not say manager this time around, but let's say leadership. I think it depends on the kind of leadership, whether employees are going to be able to achieve work-life balance or not. It depends on kind of a leadership. And research that has just been published by myself and other colleagues a few months ago actually found that transformational leadership actually help employees to achieve work-life balance. Because transformational leadership is a process whereby leaders engage with and influence others by paying attention to their needs, by raising their motivation, by providing an ethical framework for decision, by showing concern about their welfare and state of mind. So transformational leader is not only concerned about the outcome or about the outcome of the organizational activities, it's also concerned about the state of mind of employees. So that is transformational leadership. Transformational leader actually encourages employees to use work-life balance because transformational leader realize with work-life balance, employees have a very good state of mind. And having state of mind is good for organization in terms of productivity, engagement, and performance. On the other hand, transactional leaders are not like that. So again, transactional leadership focuses on exchange of skills, knowledge, resources, effort, performance, and this is between the leaders and the subordinate. It is the leadership that we call give and take leadership. You're going to give me something, and I'm going to give you another thing in exchange. So transactional leader is only going to allow you to use work-life balance policies and practices in organization only if using those policies and practices will benefit the organization.
So in your research, you've been working with many different managers, I imagine, leaders. I imagine you've been identifying those who are transactional and those who are transformational. Yeah. And are there any particular personal characteristics? As I hearing this, I manage a tiny team, and I would love to be a transformational leader. Are there any personal qualities or characteristics that mark out a transformational leader?
So a lot of people would like to describe themselves as transformational leaders because of, it sounds civil, it sounds good, it sounds nice to be transformational. But in the actual sense, many people are transactional. Many people are transactional in the actual sense of it because people actually are concerned about the end result. And many people do not care about the people who are involved in carrying out the task. And that is the essence of our research showing organization leaders, the outcome is as important as people who are performing the task. In fact, if you want to go beyond and above your achieve beyond and above your target limit, you need to pay attention to people who are actually doing the work in terms of looking after them.
So what I'm hearing here, Toyin, really, so another word you might use for transformational leadership might be compassionate leadership. Yeah?
Absolutely. I like that. Compassionate leadership. I think so, because a transformational leader is very compassionate. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be one of my big takeaways for today, actually. But in terms of being compassionate then, so one of the things that organizations have been doing in the last 10, 15 years is flexible working. And you were talking about how I think you work in the small hours sometimes. So do I occasionally, I will admit that. But I think that flexible working piece, I imagine important, but has your research looked at the impacts of flexible working?
So not only flexible working is just one of the work-life balance policies. There are several work-life balance policies that a lot of organizations have been actually drafting into their policies now, which include the flexible working that you have said, hybrid working as well. Hybrid working is one of them. And for working models as well, who actually need work-life balance the most. And the reason why I say this is that they have so many responsibility, both paid and unpaid responsibility for working models. So many organizations are also having what we call on-site crash now. So working mothers do not have to worry about where to put their infant babies when they finish their maternity leave. They just bring their children to the workplace, and there's a crèche in the workplace. They just drop the child in the workplace, and this make them focus. It make them focus on their job. Again, this is going to have a very positive impact on the productivity and profitability of the organization. So there are several policy, annualized hours, several work-life balance policies. Now, one thing is to have those policies in place. Then another thing is to be able to use them, for employees to be able to use them. You know, a lot of organizations pride themselves as work-life balance organizations. I mean, most especially generations, Gen Z, they call them Gen Z, the generation Y and generation.
I call them Gen Z.
Yeah.
So Gen C's.
They would not, I mean, many of them would not take up a job that would not allow them to have work-life balance. And there are loads and loads of talent among them.
Yeah.
And that's why many organizations, contemporary organizations, pride themselves as work-life balance organization. Again, one thing is to say that, then another thing is to actually allow your employee to use work-life balance. And I think in the UK, and I think the narrative is very positive. Organizations are allowing their staff to use work-life balance policies. Recently, COVID-19 has even forced a lot of organizations to go hybrid. And COVID-19, obviously, it's not going to go. We're now used to it, you know, but we are still doing the hybrid work, even though there are a lot of research that hybrid work, you do more at home. And I'm a living example for that. I do more at home than when I come on campus. Because when I come on campus, I will get to campus around 8 a.m. in the morning, and around 4:30, 5 o'clock, I will leave, and that will be it for the day. But if I'm working from home, I'll jump on my desktop at home around 7:30 in the morning, and I'm probably going to be there until 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. at the earliest. So people work more from home. But it's one of those work-life balance policies, hybrid work, which allows you to work from home. So
Toyin, we've talked about a number of different things so far, but what we haven't talked about yet is the whole idea of autonomy. And I've read myself in my own reading that people who feel they have autonomy often feel happier. And I've actually found that academics, they often particularly are keen on autonomy. But can you talk a bit more about the role of autonomy in the context of work-life balance, and perhaps what your research on autonomy in the workplace has shown?
So autonomy actually aligns with transformational leadership, because transformational leaders, they don't micromanage. They give you some high level of autonomy. So transactional leaders often micromanage. And you don't get that autonomy from them. If you are transactional leaders, you give your employees that high level of autonomy. That is to say, they know what they want to do and you leave them to do it. You don't go on to micromanage them. So giving employee autonomy actually enhances their work-life balance, because that then means they can plan themselves. They can plan their time. They can plan their activities and efforts. Nobody is going to micromanage them as long as they are able to fulfill their role, their task. That's fine. But transactional leaders would take that autonomy away from you, because naturally and characteristically, transactional leaders micromanage, and micromanaging take autonomy away from you. So autonomy aligns with transformational leadership, isn't it?
That's really good, because what I've heard already, Toyin, not only being compassionate, but avoiding micromanagement because of how much value people get from being autonomous.
I mean, micromanaging and work-life balance does not align.
Yeah.
So autonomy and work-life balance align, but micromanaging and work-life balance does not. Again, micromanaging and transactional leadership align, while autonomy and transformational leadership align.
If you're a manager, if you're a leader, for you to allow your employee, your team member just to get on with the job in their own way, using their own schedule, requires a lot of trust.
Yeah.
It's a big leap sometimes for you just to trust your colleague, your employee to do the job. If you're a manager, how do you develop that trust?
Well, I think it starts from having a clarity of objectives and clarity of purpose. So if employees have clarity of objective and clarity of purpose, they know what they want to do, they know how they should do it, they know when to do it, and they know when to deliver it. I think that helps them to deliver their task, and delivering the task on time build some kind of a trust. Your employee is supposed to deliver a particular task to you at 4 p.m., and this employee knows what he's supposed to do, and he has delivered by 12 p.m. That's the beginning of building trust. So clarity of purpose, clarity of objective, clarity of task help managers and employee to build trust among themselves. I think that's the starting point. And it is very important that the employee also make sure that these trusts do not break down. Because once the trust is broken, then it's very difficult to mend.
So, Toyin, can you just tell us a bit more why managers might start micromanaging? What prompts that?
I mean, it boils down to the kind of manager they are. I'm very sorry to say this. Many retail managers, they micromanage because they are working against targets. So, I mean, all of us have our targets. But many retail managers and managers who work against targets, they're looking forward to achieve their targets, they micromanage. And some managers against lack of trust, because somebody is going to argue that, hang on, everybody has targets in their work. So I would say it boils down to lack of trust that people really micromanage. Because there are some people that micromanage, they don't trust their employees to do what they're supposed to do, to turn around the task when they're supposed at the right time, so they micromanage. And to some other people, they are characteristically transactional, no matter what, even if they're working with white theory employees, because there are employees we call white theory employees. Okay. Theory Y employees are employees who require very little or no supervision at all. They are self-motivated and they are very happy about what they do. So they don't require you to manage them. They are innovative by nature. They like what they do. They are self-motivated. And the opposite is Theory X employee. So even if you're working with Theory Y employees who are very motivated, who are self-motivated, who love what they do, some people are just characteristically transactional in nature. They're still going to micromanage them because of probably fear and lack of trust.
Okay, that's really powerful, because we've focused a lot on leaders and managers today. But I also like the idea you can also categorize the actual workers by their type. So we got Theory Y, who are very motivated.
Yeah, self-motivated.
And you got Theory X,
who don't like job. They don't like to work.
Yeah, okay.
They just want to do the basic.
But if you're a good manager, can you turn a Theory X employee into a Theory Y employee?
You can only try.
Yeah,
You can only try.
That's going to be, by the way, I mean, I've got a fantastic team, a very small team of Theory Y employees, but hypothetically, if I had a Theory X, I'd love the opportunity to put some of what I've learned today.
So your life becomes easier when you are a Theory Y manager and you're working with Theory Y employees.
Yeah.
And your life becomes very terrible when you are a Theory Y manager and you're working with Theory X employees. Theory X employees, they want to be supervised.
Yes.
You have to micromanage them.
Yes.
Otherwise, nothing is going to be done.
I've got one final question for you. And that is, why do people quit their roles? And I say this as a manager myself. How can managers positively retain colleagues and motivate the team to perform at their very best?
I mean, it's about respecting them, by respecting their views, they're respecting their contribution, and making them part of the decision making. And above all, try to treat everybody equally within the organization. If managers start to have its own people who he favors among the staff, then people will start looking elsewhere. People quit their role when they feel they're not respected, when they feel they're not valued. Imagine if a manager says to you, Karl, if you want to leave, you can leave. It means I'm not valued here. If I'm still here, it means I've not found another job. So when they don't feel valued and they're not respected, then they leave their role, regardless of how much you're paying them.
So, Dr. Toyin Adisa, I just wish to thank you once again for being on the show. It's been such a pleasure and a privilege to hear your insights. And I have to say, it's very impressive the 100 hours a week that you do work. But I do wish to emphasise that University of East London does emphasise that its academics have a healthy work-life balance. No one expects our academics to be working anything like 100 hours a week, but Toyin is determined to become a professor. He's got lots of projects underway, and hence he really is putting the hours. But I hope, Toyin, you become a professor as soon as you can, and hopefully you can ease off a bit. But thanks very much once again. Thanks to our listeners, and thanks for enjoying the show.